This is Ned's NRL Unpopular Opinions with Jharal Yow-Yew, Oscar Pannifex, Liam Fogarty, and Ryan Cook.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Ned's NRL Unpopular Opinions podcast. Your regular host, Ryan Cook, appears to be stuck in a chimney this week, so you're stuck with a bench utility today. I'm your host, Liam Fogarty. Joining me today, as always, the man that's still yet to miss an episode, none other than Mr. Jharal Yow-Yew.
Yeah, I still can't believe that I haven't missed an episode, honestly.
That's what you're paid to do, honestly, so you're doing it well.
Do like money.
Can't argue with that.
No, I'm great. It's good to be back here.
You look good. And that's the most important
much.
thing.
Yeah.
And also joining us today, probably my favourite Blues fan, Oscar Pannifex. How are you, big dog?
Am I the only one you know?
The only one you care about.
I've cut a lot of people off from after the results last week.
Particularly at this time of the year, mate.
Yeah. Look, it's been a long time since Origin, but it's also been a long time since Pod Records.
Yeah.
So we probably have to open those wounds up once again.
Yeah, let's do it. Come on.
Let's touch on State of Origin very quickly. How did you boys see it? As I've gone back and watched it a few times without my maroon coloured glasses on, and what I saw was a Maroons team that just got punished for not showing up in the first 30 minutes, and that's what you expect from a rep team like New South Wales to do. Is that how you boys saw it?
Yeah, 28 minutes of outstanding footy from the Blues, and momentum is a real bitch of a thing in the game of rugby league. Once you get that ball, I think it was 68% to New South Wales in that first half, which, look, I don't even think I remember an NRL game being like that. So
it's rarely that.
Very rare, and they capitalised on most of those, and it took them, a good 4 sets in that first try, but once the floodgates opened, it was really hard to stop it. I was actually doing a gig that night, so it was really hard to talk at halftime. I don't know, didn't know what to say. I just said I'd like to be a fly on the wall in the locker room. Look, I think, in all, it's a learning curve for a lot of these boys in this Queensland side that haven't been pumped like that before, I suppose. So you take it away, you wash it off, and you worry about it later, and you go to Suncorp and figure it out there.
What did you see, Oscar?
Yeah, I think the physicality, I think New South Wales clearly won the physicality battle, and I mean, at the highest level, you've only got to be off by a couple of percent, don't you? Yep. I think it was a combination of Queensland being slightly off their game and also New South Wales being excellent. There wasn't much more that New South Wales could have done in that first 30 minutes than what they produced. I think a few things that stood out to me was Daly Cherry Evans' long kicking game has been the difference in previous series. Every time he took an early kick or put a great kick into a corner, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, this is when Queensland swing the momentum a little bit. And every time that happened, one of Dylan Edwards, Brian To'o, or Zach Lomax would get a dominant play, 1 or 2 carry, poke their nose through a couple of defenders and then all of a sudden New South Wales had the momentum again. So to me, it felt like it just worked. Everything worked in the Blues' favour last week.
I think the other thing you got to understand, we had 2 really good chances in the first 10 minutes. Queensland,
clean line break,
and there was we just didn't capitalise on it. So the game could have been completely different. If they score those 2 tries, New South Wales score one in between that, we possibly see another great Origin game that goes down to the wire. But like I said, in this game, you can't miss those opportunities. Yeah. If you don't take them, when New South Wales did take theirs, and the score, what was it? 28 unanswered points in the first half. Yep. So pretty crazy.
34-0 at half.
I know, which is insane. But Billy said it best at the end of the game as well. If you're a Queenslander, you got to look at the second half, 18-4, and you got to take that into the last game. Don't worry about the that first half, because in this competition, you've got to play 2 halves of footy, and for both of these sides, they haven't either done it though. No. Either team hasn't done it yet in this series. So, are we going to see another blowout? It's weird, to see Origins like this. I don't want to. No. Hopefully, it's a lot closer. And we all predicted that they were going to be close, but we just might shut the fuck up for this one that's coming up. So we'll see how we go.
I just think I'm very mindful. There are a lot of Blues fans that are getting ahead of themselves right now after one great 40-minute performance.
We might have got a bit ahead of ourselves after the first game as well. I think that's just the nature of it all.
Maybe, but I just think from a Queensland perspective, playing with a man up in game one. I think it's fair to say until fatigue set in the last 20, 30 minutes, New South Wales were at least matching them in the grind, in yardage. Like, the Blues had no trouble working out of their own end in game one, even when a man down. And then in game two, we saw that again. So I think that'll be a real focus for Queensland going into game threes. Like, hey, you comfortably won game one, but there were moments throughout both of those games where the Blues were dominant in yardage.
Yeah, and it seems like Michael Maguire has... That's a big part of his, towards the end of his tenure at the Tigers, he had pretty big wingers that were doing those same things, but just wasn't complementing them in the forwards. And you talk about the New Zealand side, Kiwis who have three at the back who are great carries. So, that's obviously some of his game plan, that he believes that those first two tackles in a game like this in Origin are so important. Yep. So you definitely have no doubt that he'll have that same mentality when he goes into game three. Those three will play a huge part.
Yep. Let's touch on game three really quickly. I personally don't want Billy to make too many changes from that game two team. As you mentioned, Jharal, we did win the second half, and obviously we showed that that's a pretty good unit in the first game.
Yeah.
Do you reckon Billy swings the axe, or does he hold tight there? Or?
Oh, look, not that he swings the axe. I think we have to make one change. I mean, Xavier Coates is, officially out of the last game. I believe that we'll bring in Dane Gagai or Selwyn Cobbo, one of the two, to take on big Latrell Mitchell, and that just leaves Valentine Holmes to be put on the wing. And we need Val. Like, we've shown in the past that when he plays on the wing, he's a great finisher. Yeah, okay. He knows how to get over the line, and we need him for his kicking game as well, because he's been great, kicking the ball as well for the 2 points. So. Yeah, I believe that it'll either be Selwyn, and it'll come down to this weekend. I think. Like, I mean, who else are you going to put in there? You're not going to put Kurt Capewell in the centres. I don't believe he will. I think he'll go either Dane or Selwyn Cobbo. And if it's me, I'm probably I love Dane, but combinations wise with Reece at the back. I'm probably leaning towards Selwyn because of that reason. They know how each other play footy. They know how to, read each other's game. So I would be leaning towards Selwyn, but I wouldn't be mad if Gags was in there as well. Yeah,
I think Selwyn makes a lot of sense for a lot of reasons. He played right edge last year for Broncos on the wing, but one spot further in field isn't a big difference. Like, he's one of the few guys that you could confidently say can match it physically with Latrell.
Yeah.
I think Dane Gagai, he's been a wonderful servant for a long time. Yep. He got burnt for speed by Mitch Moses twice for two identical tries over the weekend. So I think from a Queensland perspective, you're probably looking at that. And that's no knock on Gags. He's 33 years old. Like, he's just not as quick as he used to be.
Yeah.
Selwyn's there. I think the most interesting one is going to be AJ Brimson and Kalen Ponga.
Yeah, that was the one I was going to bring up.
Both Ponga to return.
Ponga is back at fullback this week. If he has a few good rounds, is there a chance that he finds his way in the Maroons jersey?
I think we go back to the conversation of, do we carry 14 and someone like that? We know where Ben Hunt and Harry Grant can play. We know how they play. They both can play in the middle if they need to at times, shorter periods of time. But if you need to change the game, imagine having an AJ Brimson or a KP off the bench, or even if, I don't think he's going to give up his faith in Reece Walsh, because I don't think at all. Billy Slater has such a good relationship with him, hearing that personally, that I know that them two have a very, very close relationship. So I believe that he can unlock Reece Walsh. Last game wasn't really anything to do with it. And to be honest, statistically, this year in Origin, it's not been the greatest for him. He only played 7 minutes in the first game. I've seen a lot of people talking about that. A lot of people in the papers, there's been a lot of things on radio talk about Reece Walsh and Dylan Edwards' stats. Like we said, it's hard to, when you've got 32% or whatever it is in the second game, you cannot really, put to what Reece can add to a side.
Yeah, it's not a fair.
It's not a fair judgment. It's not a fair judgment yet. So give both of these fullbacks even ball, and I would say that they'll be pretty on par.
Yeah,
that's pretty fair. You can't measure what Walshy does on a stat sheet. Anyway.
No.
I think probably the one change that we haven't mentioned yet, it's been spoken about all series, is David Fafita.
Yeah,
and
that's
I think the noise that's being added to that decision is the fact that Jaden Sewer probably hasn't had the best 2 games in his Origin return.
No.
A few like pushing offloads and kind of drop passes.
But it did in
from both games.
Yeah, for the first game, it did help a lot. In obviously when we're a man down, him when he was throwing the ball a lot.
Yeah,
it did help our second phase a little bit. But you're right, he needs to pick and choose the right times. Dave is so powerful. I mean, look, there's going to be no talk about it. He'll go out this weekend and play like he wants an Origin jersey. Like, there's no doubt about that. He'll play out of his skin, and so will Jaden Surin and Nanai. All of those boys, Kafusi, they'll all play like they're playing for an Origin jersey this weekend. That's the nice thing about this decider is everyone wants to play. If you're a Queenslander, you always want to play a decider at Queensland.
That's
David Fafita is running at Nico Hines this weekend.
We could see some highlight reel plays.
Yeah.
Let's jump back into Clubland
So
now.
I stayed away from that. It's a pretty scary game. Especially when you've got someone like him, playing for and AJ Brimson.
Well, we spoke all about Latrell being, the difference coming back into the Origin arena for New South Wales. I mean, if Fafita can't do the same thing, then we're not here.
Well, Latrell was just incredible. He played his role perfectly. He was the pest. He was belting the boys. Let's stop talking about Latrell. Let's talk about the Broncos. I'm the host, so I get to control what we're talking about.
You want to talk about the Broncos?
I want to have a bit of a therapy session, maybe. My beloved Broncos, we've lost 3 in a row. We're currently sitting 10th, and we've got Penrith this weekend. Look, I think the Broncos are not really living up to the massive expectations they have, given that they were so close to winning the grand final last year. It's probably a good question for you, Jharal. Is it panic stations at Red Hill?
Look, I think we've got to win the last. Is there 8 games left?
10 rounds left. You got 1 bye.
We need to win probably 6 of those games to make the top 8. If I'm correct. Anyway, don't want to go too far into maths because it's not been my strong suit in my life. But it seems like they'll have to win it. I believe that they can do that. I'm not too worried. I mean. We got kissed on the last year with injuries. We got through the year pretty well, and when people came in with our depth, people didn't know how those football players played. And when you have second year syndrome, and you got some of those players that now that other clubs can pick apart and understand how they play their footy, well, you're going to get caught at times. Look, was it right or wrong to rest our boys last week? I thought it was the right thing to do. It's really hard to play an Origin, then have to travel internationally and then come home. We had to rest them. So whether they were going to win or not, those 3 boys in particular had to be rested last week. So, and to be honest, like the Warriors were pretty good.
Were up for that.
The Warriors were good. They weren't bad. So, I always think that you can't really judge. I think the last 7 rounds will be really tight. So. I think it'll be a very interesting game this weekend, having the big dogs back. Did Cleary, is he cleared to come back, or is it 1 more week?
I think he's still a week away.
Yeah.
He hasn't been named. Let me check reserve.
Yeah.
Not in reserve.
Yeah, look, Suncorp Stadium, Friday night, the rematch. I think the Broncos get up for this, and they know they need one back. If they do lose, there'll be a lot of people saying, I think that's it for them. I don't think that's it, but they need to really, put them to the letter this weekend. I think Penrith and show them, this is our home ground, and we've got to put them away.
Been hit hard with injuries. Injuries and suspensions. Like the start of the year, we spoke a lot over the first 2 months of the season about how when Reynolds was out, Ezra would step up. When Ezra was out, Reece would step up. When Reece was out, Selwyn would step up. When Selwyn was out, Paddy Carrigan would step up. Those guys have all been in and out of the side for the last 6 weeks. Jock Madden's feeling the pinch, so he's playing under a bit of pressure at the moment, but I think your ability to play a familiar style of footy at the start of the year when you plugged Tristan Saylor in or Ezra was a sweeping role, that was really encouraging. I think you've struggled to kind of maintain that style of footy without all those key players, which is totally understandable. And that probably comes back a bit to Kevy identifying what adjustments they need to make based on the cattle available. They've got a fair run home. Penrith this week. Dragons, Knights, Bulldogs, Titans, Cowboys, Eels, Dolphins, and Storm. So it's not the worst run.
Yeah, that's not horrendous.
No, but I think the chat's going to start if you drop a couple more games about how the last time Brisbane dropped out of the 8.
Yeah, I'll say this comfortably. If we lose back-to-back games now, if we lose 5 games in a row,
and then Dragons, your Dragons,
I believe if we lose back-to-back games, then I think we go a little bit of a panic stations. But if we go lose this weekend in a tight one,
and it's close,
and then we win, there's still from 12th position all the way up till 5th. It's 2 points in it. So those type of things. Look, then are they going to finish top 4? Probably not, but they'll slip in there and. They've proven Adam Reynolds comes back around 23. Okay. He'll be fully fit. And I've heard he's tracking really well. I haven't heard much of Reno, which is a good thing.
I saw a tweet over the weekend that he might not play again this year.
No. I haven't heard much of him.
Okay.
I haven't heard much of him. Who's tweeting? Who's tweeting?
Oh, I don't know. Some nonsense, probably.
Yeah.
J. Timms. The Broncos are $2.40, Penrith $1.57. The line is set at 4.5. The bookies are obviously suggesting that it will be a close one. That's enough airtime for the Bronx. I think we need to move on. Look, into another Brisbane team, however, it was a grim loss for the Dolphins last week. Jharal, your Dragons.
Mighty Dragons.
Got up 26
and
to
they've
6.
slipped into the 8, boys.
They have slipped in as predicted.
We've still got a while to go yet.
Mate, they've got a tough run home too.
They do.
The Finns have fallen down to 6 on the ladder. They've got the bye this week. Is the bye what they need, or is a quick turnaround?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
They need a rest.
Yeah, they haven't. They've been struggling a little bit. If I was a Broncos team this week, I'd be so happy with a bye if we got to have a bye this week. But that's not the case. Yeah. I think when you've got Uncle Wayne at the helm, it's gonna be really hard to see where they finish.
Knowing that he's leaving. But also they've done the right thing and they've got off to a great start in the year. Like, you need to get off to a great. All you need to do if you're trying to make finals, especially the birth of the first finals ever, you just need to be thereabouts. So, for them, if it comes down to winning their last game, I think that's a win for the Dolphins this year. And I believe that under pressure at the moment in big games, that they could come up with anything. Like, they got players that can come up with anything. I don't know, where they will finish, but they're looking good. I've definitely underestimated them this year. I think Tom Flegler and Tom Gilbert may end up the difference in their finals.
Well, they're too big
outs.
They're too big outs.
Enormous outs. And you're looking at where they're getting beaten at the moment. It's through the middle, which is not something we'd usually attest to a Wayne Bennett coach side. I think Isaiah Katoa, not a highlight reel player, not a super coach player, but he's arguably the best number 7 in the game right now.
Really? That's your unpopular opinion this week?
Yeah, I mean, it could be. You listen. I mean, I'm just a nuffy sitting here saying this. You listen to Andrew Johns and Billy Slater and Darren Lockyer wax lyrical about this kid on Channel 9 over the weekends. What he's doing, we don't usually see from players that young.
Yeah, I ran into Wolfie, actually. He's assistant. Yeah. Well, he's a coach for next year at the doctors. He's going to get a checkup for the right things. But he's taken back from this kid. And
it's incredible. We've never seen him.
He's coached obviously some great footy players in his time, and he's never seen anyone so calm, cool, and collected when it comes to off the field. Nothing really phases him, and he reckons that his best footy is yet to come.
Mate.
And for the Dolphins and for their franchise, you'd be happy to hear that as a member, because I think he'll be a player that will stay at that club for a very long time if they treat him right.
He's got, injuries, willing, he's got 300 games in him.
He don't drink. He doesn't. He's a good kid. He's a
uncorrupted.
So far.
Well, that's what I said. I was like, please keep him uncorrupted, because some of these kids. Whoa!
Don't let him go.
Yeah. I know what you're doing. Weird shit.
I wrote in the blog this week, Jharal, basically what you just said then. If the Dolphins can be thereabouts by round 27, Katoa and the Hammer can
get him over
the line. Definitely. And once it's sudden death in finals, anything's possible.
For sure.
The big problem for the Finns, unfortunately, is Jeremy Marshall-King has just been ruled out for 8 to 10 weeks with a foot injury, I believe. So that's a huge loss. But yeah, still a really encouraging start to the season, and they're there or thereabouts.
But last year we weren't even talking about being them in the
Exactly.
They're sitting at 6th position at the moment in a really good place with 10 games to go.
Yep.
Like, it's a win. If you were to give them
a grading
report card,
yeah.
it'd be an A+ at the moment.
It's certainly not doom and gloom in the eyes of the bookies either. They have the Dolphins at $1.60 to make the 8, which is 4th favourite. So
wow,
really?
Yeah, 4th favourite to make the 8. Don't stress too much. Finns fans.
Interesting.
It's interesting.
A team that probably, a group of fans that probably should start stressing is Parramatta. That was a 34 to 26 loss to Newcastle on the weekend. All but ends their season, I believe. Oscar, you said mathematically you don't think they can make the 8?
Yeah, I think they're into mathematical territory right now, which is not where you want to be with 10 rounds remaining in the regular season.
Well, especially after seeing Mitch Moses have a man-of-the-match performance for the Blues and then come back and not be able to repeat his efforts.
Well, that's the problem, I think, with the Eels. Like, Mitch scored 2 tries and set up another 2 in that game.
Yeah.
Like, he cannot do more, and that's been their issue. When he's out, they don't have a plan B. It's Moses or nothing.
How long have they
in their
got him
attack
for?
right
Because
now.
they better be very careful
That he doesn't go elsewhere. Yeah, that's a good shout.
Because, it's been since that grand final in 2021.
Yeah.
They haven't really been performing.
No.
They have not been performing at all, and it seems like they're getting worse. And I know, look, at the moment they're in for a new coach at the moment, but is Mitchell Moses in that realm where he wants a new coach? Does he just want to go somewhere else and win a comp?
Yeah.
Like, there'd be a lot of people after him. I'd take him.
He's certainly
the Brisbane Broncos.
arguably career best form.
Yeah.
Like he's
Why would I say that?
Yeah, I know.
About Mitchell Moses. What did I just do then?
All these years on the potty.
I know. Me and that other bloke.
Sympathiser.
Yeah, me and that other bloke. They used to do the potty together. Just absolutely pizzle him each week. Jeez. Yeah, what am I doing?
Look how far we've come.
I know.
Let's jump into your triannual rankings, Oscar. Some of my favourite articles of the year.
Well, you're lucky, mate, because they're twice as long as the other ones as well. So you can get through a whole morning.
He loves them twice as long.
You know
I love your length, Oscar. Where are you going to lead me in here, mate?
Yeah, so triannual rankings after round 9, now round 18, and again in round 27. I'll do a bit of a power rankings, gradings kind of situation for in Clubland. I've got Melbourne still in first place. Not all of these will match the ladder positions on the premiership ladder, but yeah, I think Melbourne deserve to be up the top right now. They're 2 wins clear of the next best, and they've still got a bye to enjoy. Like, we haven't seen their first choice spine since round 9, but they just continue to find ways to win.
They couldn't do it last year.
No, that's right.
That was their biggest problem when they had outs. They couldn't capitalise, but obviously the genius, the brains trust in Craig Bellamy's just bounced back pretty quickly, and they're back at it.
Yeah. I think I'm pretty keen on Melbourne featuring in the big dance this year, and at the moment, I believe it'll be the Chooks that meet them there.
I picked them. I don't know. You can take the tape back, but I said that they were going to be minor premiers.
Chookies?
No,
Melbourne. Yeah,
I said Melbourne minor.
Well, you had Harry as your day as well.
Yeah.
Go back and look at it. Yeah.
Who's your? So you've got the Sydney Roosters winning. Not winning in the grand final.
Yeah, at the moment. That's my Quinella, Roosters and Storm. After round 8, Anzac Day, you go back 9 weeks ago.
60 in the house.
Sam Walker had a field day, and we talked about that was the week that Keary announced his retirement. It seemed very much that it was going to be Sam Walker's team moving forward. Since then, they've averaged almost 33 points a game,
so and
a 6-2 into 4th place on the.
But do we think they're flying under the radar?
I think a little bit.
I think they are.
Yeah.
We need to talk about them more. What happened with the Raiders when we spoke about them? They're gone to shit.
So you want to talk about Easts now?
So you've got the Roosters at 2, do you?
Yeah, they've still got 2 buys remaining into 4th position on the ladder.
Is it 3 buys this year?
Yeah, 3 buys in total.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's only them and the Warriors and one other side that have got 2 to go.
That's a big climb in your rankings because you had them at 7.
Yeah.
At your part 1, so they're doing well. Obviously.
Yeah, well, the Victor Radley swap from middle to an edge, I think that encapsulates the whole change that's happened at Easts this year. Connor Watson's gone into that 13 role. It's allowed we haven't seen the best of Keary and Walker as a halves pairing for 3 or 4 years. The balance just hasn't really been there. Over the last 9 weeks, it's been excellent.
Grouse.
And they're scoring, over 30 points
That's
a
what
game.
they'd say in Bondi.
very nice.
That's what they would say in Bondi. So.
Who else is tickling your fancy, Oscar?
Look, this one made me very angry to write, but I put the Bulldogs in 4th position on my power rankings.
My gosh,
Right.
and
That's
because
an
you
even
tipped
bigger
them for the wooden spoon.
Oh yeah, I was dead wrong about them being.
I mean,
wooden spoon
who am I
prediction.
to tell you what to do? I haven't got a multi-dead page. I'll shut my mouth.
Do you know where you had him in part 1?
Probably like 10th or 12th or something.
You had him 13th.
13th.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think they'll be this high in another 9 weeks' time. But right now, the Doggies are beating every team that they should, and every team that they maybe shouldn't beat, they make it a fucking grind and they make it ugly. And I like I said, I'm still not convinced they're as good as people say they are, or as good as their current ladder position says they are. But right now, they're one of the form teams in the comp.
Is it Serraldo's finally his defence that
Their
he's
defence
brought-
is superb.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
His defence that he's brought from the Penrith Panthers, that he was a defence coach there. He's finally been able to implement it here.
And
it
the
took a few
Penrith
years.
Panthers he's brought from the Penrith
Yeah,
Panthers.
that's probably helped as well. Definitely.
I got the Waz in 6th place on my power rankings, despite them being down in 13th on the ladder. Jharal, you touched on it before. There's about one win between 12th and 5th on the ladder, and the Waz are just another draw, a single point outside that list. They are. They've got a very friendly run home, 2 buys to go, and only 4 games against top 8 opposition. And those 4 games are Bulldogs twice, Dolphins without Jeremy Marshall-King, and the Cronulla Sharks.
Yeah. I believe that at the start of the year we said that this was going to be the real tight competition this year as well.
Yeah.
I think we said from 4th to 12th was going to be very, very tight, and we haven't missed that. It's so tight at the moment.
Cows in 7th. They're sneakily getting better and better and better, aren't they?
Where are they? You had them 9th. So, yeah, they've climbed up your rankings.
Why
as
can't
well.
everyone just start being shit?
Yeah, we certainly need it, don't we? Bronx need it.
What's some other kind of curly ones? Dragons in 8th. That matches their position on the ladder. They've got such a tough run home, but they deserve to be where they are right now.
Who's at the bottom?
Down the very bottom. It was tough. I didn't want to put the Tigers there because it sounds like old news, but at this stage they are, I think, down the bottom. There are a lot of positive signs, but they're still 12 months away, I think, from making real moves. Para just above them.
That last 12 months.
Titans on the climb.
Titan, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of clubs that are playing for next season, right? Like Souths, Titans, Canberra Raiders, Knights, maybe. Very interesting to see if KB can do what he did this time last year.
where they made a run. They went on 7 in a row.
One
Yeah.
medallion.
Crazy.
One medallion.
Yeah.
So that'll be.
When are we going to have
see.
actually Dally M chat? We're going to have to bring that back
Yeah.
up soon. It's very short.
Can we do the VB hard only next that week?
That's a very good article, punters. If you want to read all of Oscar's thoughts, that will be live on the Ned's blog at some point today. He goes really in depth once again.
Come and roast me in the comments, punters.
Absolutely get stuck into him.
Yeah,
He
roast.
loves it. All right, when we come back, boys, we'll be diving straight into the offload.
All the betting trends from around the comp. This is the Offload.
Oscar, I chirped you last week saying that you were going to be wrong about both State of Origin games, and I knew that shouldn't have been. I knew I shouldn't have doubted you.
Well, I was wrong about one of them.
You were 50% still pretty good. I'd take 50% in most scenarios. Obviously, the Maroons didn't get it done in the men's, but they got it done in the girls.
Yes.
I don't want to talk about that anymore. I'm done.
I thought you might not want to talk about that one. So let's just look at the footy for this weekend.
Some very good games and some interesting sort of storylines because we've got a few hot boys coming back into...
The league's about to get a few degrees hotter.
Oh, boy.
In NRL round 18.
Let's start with Friday evening, maybe. Cronulla Sharks v the Gold Coast Titans.
Yep.
One of my favourite players in the league, AJ Brimson, returns.
A timely return as well.
Let's talk about that game.
Yeah, Brimo back for the Titans. An interesting one in terms of where he fits into their side for next year. Keanu Kinney's been superb for the Gold Coast in a debut season. And Jaden Campbell is injured at the moment, which is where Brimo will slot in at 5'8". But Campbell was excellent with the 6 on his back a couple of weeks ago as well. So moving forward for Titans fans, this is a really good chance to get a better idea of where AJ might fit into that team. On the left edge this week, up next to another guy who's a key watch, Big David Fafita. presumably auditioning for a Maroons jersey for Game 3. They're running at Nico Hines, which is a spot that we've spoken about on the podcast here before. Nico's not a bad defender or a bad tackler, but the spaces around him have become a bit of a spot for attacking teams in Clubland, and we saw it happen in Game 1 in Origin as well. So, yeah, for $3 at time of recording, I think David Fafita is excellent value to score a try for the Titans this week.
I don't mind that at all. I just get the feeling that Billy's been poking him, prodding him, stirring him up this whole Origin series.
Stoking the fire.
And he's going to let him loose on the Blues for Game 3, and he's going to run amok.
He makes me nervous.
Nico Hines is probably the other one I just wanted to talk a little bit more about. He obviously missed that conversion against the Dolphins.
Yes.
Couldn't steer the team to a win over the Dogs.
Over the Doggies.
Last week.
Yep.
Is he turning into a bit of a myth after his Dally M season?
Look, I feel for Nico right now, and I think the media is making it all about him, which he's the highest paid player at that club. He's the halfback. Generally, it will always be about the number 7, but the irony of it is the reason Cronulla was so good to start the year was because they were sharing the load in the spine. Blake Brayley has had a really good year. Braden Trindle, when he's been in the side, has been really productive. And Will Kennedy does what he does at fullback. So although it's all about Nico at the moment, the reality is the Sharks are a better team when they've got a better balance in attack. Nico hasn't had the best 2 weeks since Origin 1, but it's worth remembering that the only thing sitting between Cronulla and equal first on the ladder right now is that Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow length of the field try 2 weeks ago, and then a clutch Burton field goal last week. So it's not great for Cronulla right now, but I don't think it's panic stations just yet.
Not panic stations, but Fafita's going to butz him for a try.
Yeah, he might have sore shoulders after this one.
I've set you up for that one.
Yep.
Look, the other Friday game, I talk about the Bronx a lot, but we kind of have to talk about them here. It's a grand final rematch at Suncorp. The Bronx get a lot of their hot boys back from State of Origin.
Yes.
They're not in a good spot at the moment.
No.
Lost the last 3. How do we see this one going?
Well, I mean, the easiest way to get up for a game is for it to be a big game. We know the Bronx are going to arrive ready to play, at least from a physicality perspective, against Penrith this week. Panthers aren't in a great spot of form at the moment either. Dropped a game against the Cowboys last week despite having 90,000% of the ball attacking North Queensland's line. So I'm expecting an improvement from both of these sides, to be honest, on Friday night. Reece Walsh is the big watch for the Broncos. Been very quiet since that nasty incident in Game 1. So I think it's really important, both for Reece and from a Queensland perspective, that he gets some reps in the legs this weekend. I'm also watching Ezra Mann. Nothing's been said about a potential switch in the number 6 jersey for the Maroons, and I'm not saying that Billy's going to swing the axe at all, but I think the way Ezra plays over the next couple of weeks is going to be very, very interesting because before the series, he was arguably one of the best 6s in the comp. So, yeah, I'm keen for this one. It's going to be a goodie.
That's fair enough. Ezra, $2.75 to score as well.
Yep.
Don't mind that at all, considering he's one of their main scoring options.
Yep.
Let's go to a game that I'm a bit more fascinated about than the bookies seem to be. The Roosters and the Dragons. The Dragons are playing above their sort of regular standard this year.
Yep.
They obviously did pretty well last week, but they're $4.40 against a Roosters team that are flying.
Yeah.
Given the Drags have a fair bit of momentum now, is this going to be closer than the bookies give it, or is this just going to be the Chookies doing what they do best, like we saw on Anzac Day?
Yeah. On Anzac Day, Sammy Walker appeared to take control of that Roosters attack. They put 60 on the Dargans that day. Since then, they've averaged over 30 points a game in attack. Whatever they've figured out there in terms of moving Radley out to that edge, where I think his defence is actually a very sorely underrated aspect of his game at this stage of his career. But it's allowed Connor Watson to play 13, which has allowed Luke Keary and Sam Walker to find a better balance in attack. And yeah, they're the best attacking team in the comp by a country mile right now. That being said, I've been pretty keen on the Dogs all year, as along with our mate Jharal. And I think it's probably a bit of a stretch to see them going. There's value in the line there, but I like Satili Tupanua filling up at left centre for the Roosters this week. There's not as much value in their wingers, but yeah, you get a good price there for Satili.
Very nice. The line for that one, punters, is 13.5. So yeah, if you're liking a close game,
the Mad Dragon might get on it.
Mad Dragon's on the line. Let's talk about the really big return.
This is the big one.
This is the big one. Kalen Ponga,
Yeah.
the current Dally M medalist, is back for the Knights on Sunday afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
They're taking on Canberra. Are they down in Canberra? They must be.
I think they are. Yeah.
Must be. How does Ponga fare in his return here?
Yeah, Newcastle fans are telling me that it's going to be a rinse and repeat of about this time last year when KP came back into a middling Newcastle outfit and it saw them win 7 or 8 games straight and sneak into the finals. He can have that influence on a team. For me, it's been concerning to see. It doesn't feel like Newcastle are any closer to finding the right balance between Crossland and Jaden Brayley at 9. Cogger, Hastings, now Will Price is in there at 6 in terms of the halves combinations. A lot of that changes when KP comes back into 1 because he's so important to their attack, but it's been concerning to see Newcastle haven't really found that winning formula just yet. Is it as simple as slotting KP back in? Maybe. He's pretty bloody good. So, yeah, I'm very interested to see, particularly their left edge becomes one of the best in the comp straight away when Kalen Ponga's swinging out the back of shape down that left tram line. So for me, Greg Marju, not great value, but $1.65 anytime as of Wednesday morning, and Bradman Best at $2.35. They're both probably prices I'm looking at for the Knights this week.
Certainly 2 of the great try scorers last season when Ponga was back. Adding those 2 plus Dom Young was always a pretty safe 3-leg multi. All right, Oscar, that's sensational once again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, mate.
Same time next week.
Let's do it.
Strap yourself in. It's story time with Jharal.
Normally, it's story time with JYY, but on my run sheet here, I've just written brand new Jharal segment.
Well, it's not a brand new segment. I'm just going to bring something new each week now because obviously I have to because my stories, they're getting too dangerous. All right.
Too incriminating.
Well, just for my friends, not so much for me. I don't really care. I'm a dad. I'm married. I don't really care what people think about me anymore, but more or less my friends I've got to protect. No, this week, obviously it's been a huge week in the NBA draft.
Yep.
And we've seen a pretty special moment in the round pick 55 with Bronny James going to the LA Lakers.
Yep.
And LeBron James being there as well. So my segment this week was fathers and sons who have followed in each other's footsteps.
Oh, there you go. Nice.
And either being a coach and a player, or just followed in the footsteps of being an NRL player. Me and my father, we didn't get to do that.
I was just like workshopping a couple just then.
But anyway, we won't worry about that. He might have played footy, but we'll never know. Peter and Daniel Mortimer. Obviously, Peter played in the 1970s, 80s, and I was lucky enough to play with Dan Mortimer down in Parramatta when I was down there. He was the next big thing, I can tell you that much. Him and Albert Kelly were guns at Parramatta. I was just a piece of shit, and they were the guns coming through.
That's just because you hate Parramatta. You didn't want to play well for him.
Yeah, Mark and Justin Horro. We all know Horro. Hoz very well. He's now working in the scope, working in the media. Part of the world with his own potty as well. But both of them were really good players. Rod and Joel Reddy, which is we've watched both of them. I was picked up by Rod Reddy, and then I was also taken down to Parramatta by him as well. No, just went straight over your head. Rod and Joel Reddy, Bob and Scott Fulton, a huge one as well. Bobby and Darren McCarthy, Eric Grove Senior and Eric Grove Junior, both guns are good. Absolute guns. There was one Reg and Mark Gasnier as well, but I didn't know this one. I hope I'm getting this right, but Jared Hayne, now that he's, all good, we can talk about him. His dad actually played first grade as well, but not on the name Hayne, under a different name. I can't remember exactly what his name was, but he did play first grade as well.
A lot of Parramatta. It's a lot of Parramatta.
Yeah, a lot of Parramatta. Yeah. John and Martin Lang, obviously, and then them going on to win a premiership together in 2003 for the Penrith Panthers, which is there's something happening there with the father and son duos. Craig and Dean Young. Who else have I got? Oh, Steve, Josh, and Brett Morris. Steve Slippery. Yeah. Great footy player.
He's my PE teacher when I was in
really?
primary school.
There you go. Well, Slippery. Manoa, that's his name. Manoa Thompson was Jared Haynes' father. Go check that. I might
That
be.
name rings a bell.
I'm pretty sure he played for the Rabbitohs. So there you go. Stephen Matthew Rogers, John and Scott Sattler, John and Aaron Raper, Bill and Brett Mullins, Jared Mullins, Steve Mullins. Like there's a lot. Who else have I got here? Shane and Kyle Flanagan, obviously the newer age.
Yep.
Paul Curtis and Bailey Sirinen as
The
well.
Arthur boys.
Yep. Wayne and Mitchell Pearce.
Yes.
I was lucky enough to meet Wayne Pearce for the first time ever at last year's Origin. What a great man he is. A gentleman, scholar, and his son goes all right as well.
Very
Good on the piss.
You've forgotten the most famous one of the last decade.
I
which is
haven't finished.
Nathan Cleary and Reece Walsh.
Stop it.
We might end it here. But
John and Will Hopewadi.
Yep.
Will hasn't followed in his father's footsteps, unfortunately. Wendell and Tristan Saylor, Kevin and Billy, Jack Cooper, Johns, and Matthew, obviously, and then obviously the one of the greatest at the moment that probably can't really beat at the moment is Ivan and Nathan. They've both done amazing things for the Penrith Panthers. Yeah.
Yeah, 3 generations there.
Yeah, really cool. Really,
Ivan,
really,
Nathan, Reece.
yeah, really, really cool. Yeah, there it is, boys.
Nice.
Wow.
Fathers and sons. Wish I had a dad, but anyway.
that was awesome.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you very much. All right. We might just jump straight into the multi.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, look,
It's not looking
it was long odds last week, the multi. I think we were about $20 on State of Origin.
Yep.
And we came agonisingly
Yeah,
close.
2 points.
We did.
Yeah, it was. I was surprised, given how brutal the scoreline was for the Maroons.
Yeah.
We actually did pretty well. So I'll run through the legs. So Ryan had Zach Lomax anytime. Oscar, you had Latrell anytime. I took the Hammer or Reese to score. And Jharal, you
10
took
points.
Val.
He was eight points. I
No,
believe.
eight plus points, and he only scored six.
6. Oh,
And he came
God.
so close to scoring
Oh,
in the last
no.
2 minutes as well.
Just insane.
Yeah.
Far out.
That sums up how
It
our
sums up
year
my
has
multi
gone.
here. Honestly, I'm not even lying to you. I can't pick a multi-leg to save my life at the
Can't
moment.
pick your nose at the moment.
No, I cannot.
Let's rattle through the record. So, Oscar, you're 7 and 11.
Sponsored.
7-Eleven!
Yeah.
Baby.
Love it, man.
$1 slushies.
You should win the next two.
2 for 1.
Just for the sake of the multi, I don't know what
forget.
you're
Yeah,
talking about. Jharal, you're 3 and 14,
Fudge.
unfortunately.
That is... Wow.
We're gonna have to we need you to pull your socks up. There's
Studies
no
will
way
be
to say
done.
it. Yeah. Ryan is flying. He's 12 and 6.
Infuriating.
I can catch him.
And I've
I could catch him.
you could get him. Technically, you could. And I've crawled back to 50%. I'm 9 and 9.
Done.
I'm so nervous about picking every week now because I just...
Are you nervous with your pick this week?
Yeah!
Let's. Well, why don't we
Speaks to the man.
Why don't we start with you, Jharal? Where have you gone this week?
Well, the Melbourne Storm take on the West Tigers this week, punters, and I've gone about as short as Andrew McCullough could be. I've gone with the Melbourne Storm on the nose. I think they're $1.30 or $1.25 or something.
$1.27.
$1.27, and I'm going to take every single bit of it. I just need to get one back because once I get a roll on,
We've
it's
already
game
talked
over.
about how momentum's the son of a
I
bitch in
know.
rugby
I just
league.
need one back, man.
One
They're
poor
at,
Tom
it's at
Dearden
Leichhardt
tackle.
Oval too.
Oh, where's your Queensland spirit now?
Oscar, what are you taking this week, mate?
I've taken an alternate line for the Wars up against the Bulldogs. I think the line set at 5.5, but I've given them 7.5. I'm pretty keen on the Wars making a run into the finals, and although I just ranked doggies really highly, I think they might be up to it. Might be up for a big game in this one.
Very nice. I've taken the North Queensland Cowboys head-to-head over Manly. That one's in
Turbo's
Townsville.
return
Wow,
game.
centre.
I'm not worried about
He's playing
it
at centre.
all.
Yeah, weird.
The Cowboys are
Weird
$1.78
person.
to Manly's $2.05. I think, given that they beat Penrith last week, that's all I need.
Yeah.
That's the form done right there. And then Ryan's taking the Broncos to cover at 4.5 against Penrith on Friday.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
It's he's clearly seen something. I'm not going to question his methods. He's 12 and 6,
Yeah.
so it's not broken. Doesn't need fixing. All up, odds are $7.40
Yeah.
this week.
That's good.
Short, but we need a win.
We need a win. We need one. please.
Yes.
Help us, footy gods.
Look, let's wrap up, boys. What are we liking this weekend, Jharal? Talk to me.
Yeah, well, obviously it's been a pretty shit weather here in Brisbane, Vegas, but looking forward to the grand final rematch. Both teams almost at full strength. Obviously, Penrith with no Nathan Cleary, which is okay from my point of view, but the Broncos need to get back on track. So Suncorp Stadium Friday night, 8 p.m. It's going to be a cracker.
What do you like, Oscar?
I'm keen to see some big names come back from injury, long-term injuries. Tommy Turbo, as we just mentioned, playing in the centres for Manly. KP back for the Knights.
Yep.
AJ Brimson back for the Titans. That in particular is an interesting one because Keanu Kinney's been superb at fullback and Jaden Campbell was superb at 6 a couple of weeks ago. So Campbell's out at the moment with injury, so it'll be Brimson in there. But yeah, interested to see where Brimo might fit into that Titans team moving forward.
Very nice. I'm just excited to watch some footy. I've been stuck down in AFL land
Yuck.
for the last few. I went and saw
I thought you were going to say you were with Dill. That's
well, I was, and I went and saw his beloved Richmond in the Richmond members area at the G.
Richmond.
Did they win?
No, they didn't. I think they're probably going to win the spoon this year on Richmond, and it was just grim watching.
Are Richmond yellow and black?
Yellow and black,
Yeah. What is that? What animal are they?
They're the Tigers.
bumblebee.
Your mate Dustin Martin from Vegas, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, I do remember.
yeah.
Well, I don't really remember correctly, but I do remember going to Vegas.
Let's get out of here, boys. Thank you very much for listening, punters. Come heckle us in socials. I'm going to wrap it up now.
Thanks for listening to Ned's NRL Unpopular Opinions. Enjoyed the podcast? Remember to like, subscribe, and rate the show wherever you get your podcasts.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.